I'm Violet Kairos, and I'm a proud author.
Can you tell me about your mental health journey?
I would love to tell it. It's a very long story. It's been going on since way back in 1989, um, when I got sober. Um, I was 23 years old and had had a very violent and rough childhood, as well as teenage years. And I'm very fortunate to get sober and be alive. Fast forward, joining and working the 12 steps of several different programs, as well as decades of therapy. I got to the point I was in my 50s, 30 something, years of sobriety and recovery. And I realized something was still wrong. I was not happy, joyous, and free like other people that I've known. Um, so I knew there was something else, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I wasn't aware. So like so many people that you've interviewed during the pandemic, I was able to stop everything and finally look at myself. It was time. And not knowing what was wrong with me, I had to do a lot of research, trying to find any information that would tell me why I was feeling the way I did. I still hated myself, terrible self doubt, just self abuse. Um, I didn't know who I really was, and I didn't have a purpose in my life. It was a pretty miserable time, and I just was not a happy person and self destructing without the drugs and alcohol. So it was just very painful to be me, suffering from depression, anxiety. So the one day, when I was in my search on YouTube, I came across a lady who her name was Lisa Romano, and she was talking about codependency and uh, the narcissist parent. So I just clicked on it and I listened. I'm like, oh, this can't be. For some reason, I thought that couldn't be my situation. But I listened, and she described me to a T. So I had known that my parents were alcoholic, but I was not aware that both of them were narcissists. And that is a very different abuse pattern. And also the therapy and the recovery is very different. So by mislabeling it, I closed my mind, to help that would have been possibly early on in my life, but well, I'm proud that I'm glad that I did finally find out, and that kind of set me off on this whole new deep inner work of about what severe childhood trauma does to a person when you're unhealed and you grow into an adult, what that looks like and how it limits you and just steals your dreams, your light, steals everything from you. So I started on that journey and did many things to help myself, and I wrote about it in my book. But I've still been on my search. It's not a one and done thing, unfortunately, just like with any kind of recovery. I wish it was, but I know that for all my issues, till the day I die, I will be working on myself, and that's okay because I keep uncovering things and just finding my authentic self and becoming happier. So that's where I'm at.
What was it like talking about all this publicly for the first time?
That is such a good question. And it's a real thing, as you know. Um, Especially when you have like narcissists and alcoholic family members in that belief system, family secrets are not to be revealed to anyone. And that is just drilled into your head. And it certainly was mine, drilled into my head. So I really had to get through a lot of shame and guilt to even admit this stuff to myself. I think it was like the hardest thing to admit that my life had been a lie. And, my parents had this incredible disorder that affected me and affected them as well. And I could see this, generational trauma throughout both sides of my family. So it's been very difficult, but once you get into it and you have, support systems and, a therapist that supports what you're doing, and you work through these things and you see the reality, it kind of changes things. And you have a higher power, and that also makes a difference too. So you find strength in several different ways. But it's I have a pen name for my author, and that was strongly suggested by my publisher, and so it is what it is. But I'm just glad that I finally created a book. I've always wanted to be a writer, an author. Just back when I was younger, I just didn't know what to write about. So it's been a journey in itself.
Yeah, I have a few questions about the book. First, can you tell me about it, and what was it like getting all your thoughts, ideas, emotions out on the page?
Another good question. Oh my gosh. Spent a couple of years just kind of vomiting on page. Just getting it all out. And at first it came out as this very harsh kind of just like no rhyme or reason, just get it out. And then I had to go back to kind of organize it and figure out what's my purpose of this book. To just say, yeah, they did all this stuff. Nobody wants to really hear that. They're not going to buy a book like that. So Hay House had an author module that taught you how to be an author. From step 1 to step 9 or whatever, everything to do, to write, from every, just every step. I really helped. They just really helped. So anyway, I kind of stumbled on that. So anyway, I did all that, and so I was able to come up with an outline, and they kind of taught me how to be an author and what to do after it's published and during and everything. But I was very unorganized and undisciplined at first, and it took a little while to get it all out and to decide that this book I wanted to help other people, because I then looked back on everyone that I've known throughout my recovery, that there are so many of us. I'm not the only one. And unfortunately, a lot of those folks, like myself, were unaware that they had this deep childhood trauma, and they weren't getting what they needed to help themselves. And so I've had a lot of friends commit suicide, multiple relapses. They just can't get sober. Or die of drinking, drinking themselves to death. Being a drug addict and alcoholic is very common for adult children of narcissists. We don't know what's going on because of the shaming and the gaslighting, and from day one, no other way. Because of all that, it's really hard to become aware of what happened, and you kind of question, did that really happen? Some of this stuff is so crazy, and you think you lived in a dream, but it really happened. And an older sister, fortunately for me, who confirmed a lot of the stuff because she remembered, and so I knew that I was on the with a lot of this on the right page and moving forward. That it wasn't. I didn't make this up. I didn't dream it. This really happened.
So, what is the open heart, open mind recovery concept?
It's kind of a state of mind, so to speak. You come into 12-step programs and they talk about having an open mind. But for me, I needed to take that several steps further. And because I still was very closed-minded about a lot of things. Um, and what do I mean by that? It's kind of hard to describe, but I think as I went along with my recovery in this particular vein, I really had to look at everything as clearly and as much in reality as it was. And that meant that I had to really clear my mind, not be closed-minded, not automatically say, no, that didn't happen, or I don't believe that, or anything like that. I had to kind of look at things and say, well, do I need to change this? Do I need to improve that or this in order to get to like a new plateau? I talk about in my book having that open mind. The 12 suggestions are kind of like 12 steps. They ask a lot of the person to really consider this and really look within. What do you really believe? And that's where having an open heart comes. It's difficult to have compassion for yourself when you look at a lot of this stuff, and then have compassion for your family. They're hurting too. This is definitely generational in my family. I know exactly why my parents were the way they were. And I just did not want to hate them. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life hating them, or having resentment. I wanted to work on my wounds, but be able to look at the good things about them and kind of move forward with my life, because I knew that being resentful and hateful toward people, it just holds you back. It's a poison in itself. So, so this concept of just being open and looking at every avenue to heal yourself and to help yourself. A very difficult chapter in my book is talking about what you believe in, God, higher power, power greater than yourself, whatever you want to call it. It's actually hard to really look in your heart and say, what do I really believe? Because a lot of us, it was, drilled into our head, this Western, I grew up Catholic, this Western version of religion. And yeah, that did shape me. I'm not saying it's, anything negative, but it's not truly where my heart is. It's not, it doesn't fully embrace who I am. So I had to really look at that. And I found out I was an omnist, which is, someone who, takes what, they believe from all the religions and beliefs and goes with that. Instead of limiting myself, closing my mind, instead of doing that, I open it and I'm more on a search of, learning more about things. Instead of saying, "Oh, I can't believe that. That's not what that I was told not to believe that." You'll be surprised at people that they come up against that, and it's like my family is very. They've been, very closed-minded about that, and they didn't always accept where I was at or where other people were at, and it's sad, and they didn't help themselves at all. So it takes a lot of courage to just say, what do I really believe? Because in the end, you're going to need that belief with any kind of recovery, because this stuff it's, physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's on every plane in your whole existence energetically. And to think that you can handle this and deal with it day by day on your own is futile.
Yeah, how has the concept helped your own healing process?
Everything I wrote in the book is what I did. And I pretty much, as I went through each issue in each situation, I wrote it all down. And it was not easy to do, because I was kind of like writing the book and going through all of it at the same time. And so um, it wasn't the easiest plan, but it's everything that worked for me. And the 12 suggestions are they're very flexible. They meet people where they're at. You don't have to necessarily do them in order. You can skip ahead and come back. And I did that on purpose because we're all in different journeys, and what you need at a different time in your path, it might not be what I needed, but you need this. So you can go to that chapter and work that suggestion. But it really asks you to connect the dots. Go back and recall, some of the most painful memories from childhood, and connect that to where you are now. How did that affect you to being the adult now? And it kind of talks about that. It helps you along that. But it also talks about my favorite chapter is having that inner circle, that those people that are with you through thick and thin, and you can call on for help, because a lot of this, you feel very lonely. You feel like you're the only one going through it. And to have that person to call who understands, who's going to listen to you, who's going to encourage you, is everything. But I loved taking the time to describe all of my inner circle in the chapter. And I gave them nicknames, and I like going back and just reading that chapter, because without those people, I don't know if I would still be here, and everybody needs that. Everyone needs their people. I don't know if I've.
Yes, no, that everyone does need people. And for me, I live with bipolar disorder too. And when I hear stories about people with similar lived experiences, that helps me the most, and makes me feel like I'm not alone. What is it like for you talking to people with similar lived experiences?
I love to do that, and I do a lot of speaking on it. And I'm really excited that there are, some therapists out there in my area that are using the book not only to read what it's like to walk through that, living with this, and coming out the other end, to educate themselves, because they did not live with a narcissist, but they have so many patients that do. And then they recommend the book to their patients, because it's you're in my mind. I wrote it's like, you've been through this with me. And I wanted it to be that way. I wanted to I talked to the reader directly a lot. And we kind of have a community. It's like, we're going through this together. You can do this, when you're ready, go to the next step, that kind of thing. And so it's written in a way that it brings the people along with me. I'm with you. I'm standing there in spirit, and I know what you've gone through. So I love to talk about it, and I'm very proud of the book. It's won 5 awards, and like for best recovery addiction category, nonfiction. It's received some accolades that I was shocked to receive, but I welcomed. And believe it or not, I actually had a lot of difficulty with winning the book, winning the awards, because as the scapegoat in my family, and narcissists always have a scapegoat, and they have the golden child, right? So my sister was the golden child, and I was always a scapegoat. And I was not to do anything right, win anything. And I believe that from day one. So all my life, whenever I get a compliment or I would have an accomplishment, it didn't fit the narrative in my head. And so it's been very disconcerting. And I had to really observe myself going through this, because this was an issue for me, and let myself accept and believe that I deserved, good things, that I wasn't a screw up. I was not stupid. I was not lazy. All those things that we're told throughout our life by, that narcissist. And we believe it. And, here we are, adults, and we're kind of looking at people like, why are you saying these nice things about me? That can't be right. So our reality doesn't match. So I really had to go through a lot to accept the awards. But I'm grateful, and it's all about, why go through all this if you can't help someone else?
Right.
And that's what every 12-step program is about, spreading the message and helping other people. So at this stage in my life, with the book and my recovery, my 35 years of, sobriety, it's about giving back, and it's about being of service. Because I don't take anything for granted. I'm very grateful for everything. I should not be alive, or healthy or anything. And I don't know why I am. And so it's one of those things where, okay, God, whatever you need me to do, I will do. And that's kind of how I deal with my negativity in my mind. But I tell you what, because of all this work, all the repetitive stuff, self-talk, that is just so damaging, that's just on a loop. I mean, it's been on a loop in my head all my life. It's stopped. And I can't believe that it has. And so that's why I'm just a cheerleader for so many people. It's like, we can do this. I can't believe I'm have the life that I have. And I just want to help other people find that, because I know what they're going through. I know the hell they're living in. And usually when I speak, the first thing I say is, I'm going to describe my story. And I honestly hope that every one of you has no idea what I'm talking about, because it just goes through me to think that anybody else, lived this way and was treated this way. The cruelty of narcissists, and just they just destroy their families, and it's rampant. It really is. It's kind of like the silent thing in our society that we're just now becoming aware of for many reasons. And I'm glad to see that there are more books and podcasts and a lot of information out there about adult children of narcissists. When I first started writing the book way back in 2020, there wasn't a lot of information. There's a lot of information about spouses, even siblings, and those, everybody needs that. There's a lot of that. But there wasn't much about what happens to a person who grows up with a parent who abuses their power, basically, and destroys this little person, and then they grow up and they don't know who they are, what they're supposed to do. They have no purpose. They hate themselves, and that's why they end up abusing drugs and alcohol, because they just, how do you deal with that? So I'm happy to be a big part of helping other people, and I love to talk about it. I'll talk about it all day and night, with anybody to help.
You are on an important mission to help others, but what do you do to help your own mental health?
Yes, I follow my suggestions. I have that inner circle of women that have my back and who love me no matter what. I talk about having a truth journal and journaling every day. And before I started this work, even though I've always been a writer, I didn't journal. And I was looking at that. It was really hard for me to journal because I didn't know who I was. I had buried my original self so far down that I didn't know who I was. So it was really hard to write, to journal. When I started this, I think I'm on day 1,805. I have like 14 journals, but I talk about how important that is. So I still, do that. The other thing I talk about is in the morning, finding a different practice, because it's like, I don't know about anybody else, but the second I would wake up, the loop would start. Stopping that loop. And to stop that loop, you got to do something. Excuse me. It just doesn't go away. None of this does. I wish that, after a while things would, calm down, but unfortunately it doesn't. So you have to take action. And a lot of that is starting your day on a positive note, doing something positive, something with self-care and self-compassion that will stop all that going on in your head. So I still do that. I still have prayer. I go outside for my prayer in the morning. It doesn't matter if it's raining, sunny, snowy, I am out there. Because, that's where I feel closest to my higher power, is in nature. A lot of us do. That's kind of a thing that people are kind of, wait a minute. When I'm in a forest, that's where I feel the power of God. Not so much in a building. Some people do. That's great. But for those of us that feel a little bit differently, we need to follow our heart. And so I have continued to do that. And I hike a lot too. And I can feel my higher power so strongly sometimes, and just receive, all of a sudden something will pop into my head and it's like, that's the answer, to whatever. And it's beautiful. It really is. So I still go to a therapist. It talks about finding the right therapist. I have seen over 10 therapists in my.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because not all therapists are the same.
Yeah.
But that is something that this is a disorder that you need professional help to help you. The therapy is not talk therapy does not help you. Okay, that is for something that is non-childhood trauma oriented. Reason being, trauma changes your brain. Okay, your neural pathways change, and they just kind of continue to dig a groove into your brain. The more you think about it, the more you talk about it, the more you just kind of go over and over and over. You've heard people that all they do is just, every time you talk to them, that's all they say is the same thing. They're stuck in that. So there's more action needed than just talk. So that's the therapy is different. And I talk about in that chapter about, EMDR and other types of uh, brain changing, rewiring techniques that thank God therapists know more about now. It certainly has changed my life and saved my life. Uh, yeah, everything that I talk about in my book, I still do. And, I still go to my 12-step meetings, everything that I have been told to do, I continue and plan to.
As speaking plan to, where do you want to see your mission in the next few years?
Oh, wow. Well, I would like to continue to have forums like this one. This is, Michael, this is wonderful. I mean, you really do an incredible service.
Thank you.
For people to get out there and talk about their journey and what they're doing and how they're helping themselves and others. Continue to do things like this. And possibly kind of add to my, add maybe a part two or something. I don't know. The thing with, when you create like a self-help book, it's about the content. It's not about how many volumes, how many books you come out. It's what's in the book. So that's more of a novel. If you're gonna have a novel, you're gonna have another 2, 3, 4 books coming out. So I'm not stuck on that as an author. But I think any chance I get to talk about this and help people, I want to be able to be up for that in any way, shape, or form.
How can people reach out and learn more?
I do have a website. It's violetkairosauthor.com. And well, on Amazon, my book is on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's in several different bookstores. You just got to look it up. But also, please, people who want more information, look at several sources. Find all the books, all the YouTube videos, all the podcasts, and educate yourself and be active in that. We have to, be proactive on our side. It just doesn't go away. Our pain and our confusion and, our unclear thoughts of what is happening to us. I wish it would just go away, but it doesn't, and you have to take action. And so that's what I recommend to people. And if they think that maybe their parent was a narcissist, they should go to, get to a really good therapist to help them through that. But there is, there is a way out. There really is. It's a beautiful life.